Yes.
Alright. Well, the passage that Mr. Tatum just read, like, it's basically about Clarissa's first impression of Sally Seton and her feelings for her. And where it's placed, it's right after Miss Dalloway is walking on the streets of London, and she sees a woman go by, and then she starts thinking back to, like, her first initial girl crush, which was Sally Seton. And, like, she starts talking about how she can't yield to the charm of a woman, and so that leads into the reminiscing. And then in the excerpt, we discover the differences between Clarissa Dalloway and Sally Seton. Virginia Woolf uses Sally Seton as a character foil. Like, she does. Don't laugh.
Go on.
As a character foil to Clarissa Dalloway, which a character foil, if y'all don't know, which you should, it highlights the attributes of that character. Stop laughing at me. I'm not laughing at you.
Don't pay attention to anybody.
What?
Keep going, come on.
Okay, and so, kind of like Mr. Tatum's, like, example when he was explaining it to us, Ricky Bobby and Pierre Gerard and Talladega Nights, like, that's how it is. And the passage characterizes Sally Seton, in short, as everything Clarissa Dalloway wasn't and wanted to be. You see this in lines 9 through 13 where it enforces that. And it says, but all that evening she could not take her eyes off of Sally. It was an extraordinary beauty of the kind she most admired. Dark, large-eyed, with the quality which, since she hadn't got it herself, she always envied. Like, that clearly states it out front. You know, she wants to be and envies Sally Seton. And then later it continues a few lines down. Well, actually, off of that line. It continues and says, a sort of an abandonment, as if she could say anything, do anything. That's showing Clarissa Dalloway and how she wishes that she was brought up to be more like Sally. Like, she wishes that she didn't care as much as what people think. And we all know from, like, reading before and even after in the passage and, like, throughout the book that Clarissa Dalloway, she wants to be, like, whatever she wants to be. But because she was raised in the, like, proper English society, in the sheltered household, like, she can't. But that's why she envies Sally, because she's everything that she's not. And then it goes on, and I already put that. In lines 18 to 25, it says, let's find them. Perhaps that summer she came to stay at Burton, walking in quite unexpectedly, without a penny in her pocket, one night after dinner, and upsetting poor Aunt Helena to such an extent that she never forgave her. There had been a quarrel at home. She literally hadn't a penny that night. When she came to them, had pawned a brooch to come down. She rushed off in a passion. This demonstrates how Sally isn't afraid to be independent and do her own thing with, like, nothing to her name. Like, she's independent. She'll do whatever, like, as a whim. Which Miss Dalloway, she's more conservative, and so, like, she's more, like, well thought out, and she's, like, she won't just act on a feeling, unlike Sally Seton in the passage and throughout it. And throughout this passage, you see that it's, like, as you read through lines 1 through 40, you see the transformation of Clarissa Dalloway. Like, because then at the end of the passage, like, the last 5 lines, it shows Clarissa where it's, like, she's saying that, yeah, the thoughts and ideas were Sally's, but, like, she was getting just as excited about him, so she starts reading more, like, she starts reading Plato and Morris and Shelley, and even after, like, that passage ends, like, it goes on, and she still starts describing how much she envies Sally and how, like, amazing Sally is and how much she wants to be like her, but it also goes into, like, how much she's, like, in love with her, like, in a sexual way in love, not just, like, oh, she's my best friend, and, like, oh, I'm using, like, a lot. And on page 35, it references that the most exquisite moment in Miss Dalloway's whole life is when Sally Seton kisses her. Yeah, some deep stuff. And, like, so that just goes on to forces, like, what the whole overall passage is about, which is her feelings for Sally Seton and her first impression. That's it.
Pretty good.
13 seconds left.
Thank you.
I know, it's organized.